You are live. Oops. Welcome. Let's show that. Okay. I have to play this now. Show. Play. Tune into that. For a while. Hello and welcome to Traffic Paradise Radio. Kira, how you doing?
Hello, everyone. It's lovely to be here. I'm feeling pretty good. How are you today, Uno? I believe Uno has some technical issues.
I'm good, thank you. Let me just reach for my camera so you can see my cool Jensen button. Yeah, I'm good. Internet's, I think, is going to be on our side today. Devices, I think, going on our side today. Those of you who are regular viewers, you know that this is an age-old struggle when I'm hosting. Usually, Immy's the one who handles this sort of thing with a much better computer and internet connection, but we are not so lucky. Uno didn't mute himself. Lol. Okay. Thank you, Kira, for that. Oh, that's a private chat. Whoops. I shouldn't have read that. Whoops. Okay. Anyway, welcome to Traffic Paradise Radio. Thank you for tuning in. Although I don't think we have any viewers at the moment, but we have just, we'll hopefully get you in the minutes to come. We have a lot to talk about today. There is a whole brand new race coming our way. Well, not brand new. It's Canada. It's always been there, but it's exciting. And we will be giving our predictions. Kira, any thoughts before we give our predictions? Any thoughts about the race? How you're feeling? What are you expecting?
Well, I'm quite happy to hear that Stroll will be back in racing. It's good to hear that he's recovered well. I'm just really hoping that Canada this year is a little bit nicer than it was last year, because last year it was just absolutely carnage. We had 2 double DNFs, 5 DNFs overall, and it was just absolutely insane. So hoping for a bit of a nicer race, although still always happy for some action.
Okay, it's cutting out a bit. I don't know. I hope that the audience heard what you had to say. I couldn't really hear it. I heard the word carnage. I hope there's not too much carnage, but a little bit of carnage will be nice. I think that's what.
Yes, that is indeed what I said. You're cutting out quite a lot here.
About
Uno's internet is actually not on our side today, but we move.
I think I'm back.
Hello, Uno. Welcome back. He was indeed not very
Hello.
back.
Am I here?
Hi.
I'm alive. I'm awake.
Yeah, you're here.
Okay.
You're indeed.
Okay, so okay, this is like such a funny struggle. If you're like in any way familiar with my struggles, this is hilarious. Okay, so Kira, if you can hear me, it would be lovely if you could start with your pole position prediction.
I can indeed hear you now, and I would like to say that I went for Oscar Piastri for pole this week.
Okay.
He's had a great run. Obviously, he just is doing really well, and things have been going on his side for the most part. It's it's generally been pretty even so far between him and Lando, especially in the most recent races, but he has still got that edge, especially in qualifying, and I think that he'll just be able to snatch pole. How about you? Who are you predicting for pole position?
Okay. So I've gone for Lando Norris. As we've always said here at Traffic Paradise Radio, it's going to be a McLaren or it's going to be Max. So I've gone for the other McLaren, and I'm pretty sure what you're about to see from the rest of the group is going to be pretty similar to that. So my basic thinking is it's basically now, especially after the last race, it's a championship fight between the two McLaren drivers. It doesn't seem like any of the other teams are capable of mounting a serious challenge. So yeah, I think it's going to be one of the two McLarens, obviously. And I'm just flipping between the two really every prediction. So this week it's going to be Lando. But what did everyone else think? Everyone else thought exactly the same as we did. There is a lot of orange, only orange, and surprisingly more Lando than Oscar. There are 5 Landos to 3 Oscars. Tay and Immy have both predicted Oscar, and everyone else has gone with Lando. Any thoughts, Kira?
I think it's pretty interesting that we've got more Landos than Oscars, but at the same time, I know that especially on our team, a lot of people are sort of quite interested in the Lando revenge arc based on the start of the season that he had. So I'm not actually surprised by this.
I've always thought that Lando has it in him to win the championship. I thought it last year. I thought he had it was very outside chance, but I did think he had a chance, and I think he's got an even better chance this year, obviously. It's the first season he's ever led a championship. So I have confidence in Lando. I know many people don't, but I think TPR are on my side this week when it comes to that.
I definitely agree
just
that
a yes,
Lando's got
Uno.
a good
Can you
chance.
hear me?
Yes. I can hear you. I was just gonna say that I do think Lando has got a pretty good chance
Okay.
at the championship, but now he's against Oscar. He has to outperform his teammate who has suddenly just come and shown up so well this year. And I don't know, will he be able to beat that?
Yeah, Oscar's really sort of stepped up this season a lot more than we've seen from him previously, and I think it's very interesting the dynamic between the two of them and how McLaren's going to manage that. But let's have a look at who we think is going to be P3, because that might tell us how TPR thinks this is going to play out. So in P3, who do you have on the podium in third place, Kira?
Well, if you know me, I am never going to step out of my delusional space that was Constructors P2, so I have put George Russell in P3 because I don't really know why. I don't think it's going to be happening, but I also have faith in George to do something with nothing and just clutch at straws enough that we can get something. Also, Canada typically is a bit colder, which may work in our favour. Uno, you there?
Okay, yeah, I'm here. Okay, so I'm going with Max for P3. I kind of only heard half of what Kira had to say, so I'm not going to comment on it. So Max in P3, I think he's got a lot to prove. I think it might cost him in the long run because I think we know he's only 1 point away from a race ban. So I think if he's fighting really hard for a podium, we might see some classic angry Max, Mad Max, I think should be the preferred term. And we might just see him not make it to Austria. However, I do think that he's going to be a bit more cognizant of the fact that if he doesn't race in Austria, it's going to look really bad for Red Bull. I would like to think he has a bit of sensibility in when it comes to that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm going to say Max P3 for now, but who knows how it'll end up once the stewards have a look at his race. But everyone else. Yeah.
One thing that I am extremely interested in seeing is that if Max does get the race ban, it'll be the official time for us to find out if it's the car or if it's the drivers.
Yeah, I mean, so for the last 3 races, the cars have not been the same, you know?
Yes.
Obviously, that's yeah, it's Yuki's fault. He crashed the car and he had to use old parts.
Yeah.
You know, but now they should be more or less equal in terms of machinery. So it should be a lot closer than it has been previously. But I do think Max does make that difference. But yeah, as you say, if someone has to step up and there's some, you know, if Max does get a race ban, there is obviously like Red Bull and Visa Cash App racing pools are limited as to how many drivers they can use in a season. Red Bull is already on 3 drivers. So if they bring in like an Isaac Hadjar, for example, they're on 4 drivers. And now they cannot change drivers again. Like they have to rotate between the 4 drivers they've had. So I can totally see Red Bull telling Liam Lawson to take over for Max for 1 race because it wouldn't impact their driver count for the season because he's already driven for them this season. Visa Cash App then would have to bring in Arvid Lindblad, who has been granted an exception because he's under 18. He's got enough super license points, so he's been granted an exemption from the FIA to be able to race in Formula One as a 17-year-old. I would imagine they would put him straight into VCARB and wouldn't put him into Red Bull. So that's sort of what we've got to look at unfolding this weekend or the next 2 weekends, I should say.
I'd love to see how that goes. Anyway, back to our P3 positions. I can see that Immy, Lee, and Willow have also predicted Max. And big thank you to Tay Lacey for joining in my delusions. And then Neve has predicted Oscar.
Why do I feel like everyone else is going to have McLarens for the next 2 positions? That's just my feeling. But I don't know yet, but I have a feeling. So let's move on to P2. Kira, who is your P2 candidate?
I hate to steal your thunder already, but I didn't predict McLaren. I predicted Max, actually. Which is so out there and crazy and wild, Max I know, but I think after he had a bit of a horror show, and in Spain he had a bit of a horror show, and I do think he'll be able to claw it back a little bit. Obviously it depends on the other cars there, but if I remember correctly, he won Canada last year, so he's definitely got that winner's advantage. So I do think he's got a good shot of doing something decent.
Okay, cool. And for P2, I've predicted Oscar Piastri. I've already said, like, I believe that they're the strongest team So it's going to basically be a fight between Oscar and Lando. So no surprises who I think is going to win. But yeah, I think you're being very risky to not put both McLarens on the podium. And I think at this point in time, you're especially being risky to not put Oscar on the podium. I don't know who you've predicted for P1. We'll see, Kira. Maybe you've gone uber risky. But yeah, I think basically expecting a McLaren, well, both McLarens on the podium is sort of standard practice at the moment for this season. Okay. So what has everyone else gone with? Let's have a look.
Whoa, that's a lot of orange.
So we've got it's loading. A lot of orange. Neve, Immy, Tay have all gone for Lando and Lee. Neve, Immy, and Tay have all gone for Lando, and Lee, Lacey, and Willow have gone for Oscar. Immy going for Lando. Let's guess who she's predicted to win. Okay, so I mean, I think one thing about this season is that the podium predictions are actually kind of boring. We should start predicting other positions because it's a lot of orange every time.
We should start doing like P10 and like.
Who's gonna be last?
Yes, that'd be funny.
Yeah. So yeah, there we go. Podium P2. It's a whole bunch of McLarens and a whole bunch of and one Max. So lots of Max and one Max. Those sound exactly the same, so you figure that out for yourself. But more importantly, who do we think is going to win the Canadian Grand Prix? So, Kira, who do you have on the podium, on the top step, in first place?
Well, shockingly enough, I have put Oscar. He seems to be pretty good at converting a pole to a win, so I'm not going to slander him and say that he won't convert his pole to a win that I predicted. So I just think he's got it. I just think he's got that little bit of edge that he can do. It depends on who he's fighting for P1 on the front line, really. If it's Max, then yeah, maybe he's got a bit of more of a worry. But if from what I've seen, so I think so far this season he's only lost pole to Max on the start. So I do think that he should be okay. Depends on it really depends on how qualifying goes.
Yeah, no, 100%. Okay, and I've gone for Lando. Big surprise there. I'm not even gonna sort of expand on that. I just think he's gonna win this weekend, and him and Oscar will continue to challenge each other every weekend. But let's see what everyone else has said. Are we gonna see an entirely orange P1 prediction? What do you think, Kira?
I am gonna assume no, because Neve predicted Oscar in P3 and Lando in P2. So kaboom, Max.
Oh. And there we go. Neve, the only one who's gone against the flow of TPR and has predicted Max Verstappen to win the Canadian Grand Prix. However, Immy, Tay have gone with Oscar, and Lee, Lacey, and Willow have all gone with Lando. So a big McLaren showing here in the predictions, which is, I think, to be expected and to be, in fact, predicted. So it makes sense. Neve with a bit of a, I would almost say a wild card prediction there for Mac. But yeah, I did cut out there for a little bit, so I hope that I'm back now. But yeah, Neve has gone against the grain and gone for Max, but everyone else has predicted either Lando or Oscar. But now, speaking about wildcard predictions, what is your wildcard prediction, Kira, for the Canadian Grand Prix?
And I am still so annoyed that this has to become a wild card nowadays, but my wild card is that Mercedes both get points. Immy actually said that I was allowed to have this because of how little has happened in the last few weeks.
Okay, this is a one-off wild card prediction. Not allowed to do it again.
No,
but yeah, I think
we haven't scored double points since Miami. It's been since Miami, and
I think you're probably quite likely to get that. Okay, but yeah, they're a top 3 team though. So
yeah, but we've had a damn nightmare. We went from having a comfortable P2 to now being P3 and very close to P4.
I think I've cut out again. I don't know. So anyway. Okay. Well, let's see how it goes. My wildcard prediction is okay. So originally, I had predicted that Drugovich would get through to Q2, but we had to change that prediction when we realized that he would not, in fact, be racing, and Lance Stroll would be racing in Canada. So I went completely against my better judgment, and I said that Yuki Tsunoda will have the best finish of the season so far, which is ridiculous because things have been going so badly. But he has spoken about having a change with, I don't know if it's with setup or strategy. He's been a bit vague about it, but essentially Red Bull have given him permission to do things his own way, which I think implicit in that statement is that he hasn't been allowed to do that so far. So I think he's been given more control over his own setup, his garage, his car this weekend, and hopefully that will pay dividends to him. So let's see how it goes.
Now that you've said that, I bet Red Bull will not send him out for some reason in qualifying, and he'll just start from the back. That's happened twice now this season. Uno, come back.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping and his garage to what we've been getting so far. But what has everyone else gone with? Let's have a look. Oh, crap, I hate this part because I don't know what these pictures mean.
I've got them if you want me to do them.
Assuming Neve has predicted. Yeah, you can do them.
Okay. So Neve has predicted that at least one session will be delayed by rain. So that means that rain brings out a red flag and they have to go back to the pits and sit and wait for a bit to see if they can continue the session. See, that's interesting though, because practices aren't affected by rain. The clock doesn't stop if there's a red flag. So then is that not just only applying to qualifying the race? Well, we'll have to see. As for Immy,
yeah, maybe
Immy has gone for saying the Bortoletto will get his first points.
Bortoletto first points.
Yeah. See, now that's interesting considering obviously Hulkenberg's had a couple of really good races this season, Australia and Spain. But Bortoletto hasn't really been up there close or into the points. So it'd be really interesting to see if he can do it.
Yeah. And what has Lee predicted?
Lee has predicted that. Oh wait, Lee changed theirs because of Lance being Lance.
Double
Lance
points. Double points this week for Aston Martin. That's Lee's prediction.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Double points for Aston Martin.
Lee and I had to change our predictions at last night at the last minute because
You both made them about Dragovic.
Yeah.
Tay has predicted that someone crashed in qualifying.
Okay, likely, especially if Neve's prediction of a rainy session comes true. If that's during qualifying, I can totally see a crash. And then Lacey
said, "Oh, Immy always asks Lacey on Twitter what her predictions are, and I do not know what that means.
Okay, well, I'm getting sad Carlos Sainz vibes.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good prediction for Carlos.
No, something Carlos Sainz has a bad race, something. And Willow has quite annoyingly gone for a Mercedes DNF. Oh my gosh. They always thing is lost in Spain, right? You guys actually cursed Mercedes. There were several predictions about Mercedes like doing this, that, the other, having issues, someone DNFs, and then it actually happened, and you guys are cursing them. You need to stop. But alas, Willow has indeed gone for Mercedes DNF again, so that's great.
Yeah, okay. So it's either going to be a very happy Kira or a very happy Willow. Or alternatively, one Mercedes could finish in the points, one could finish outside of the points, and you'll both be unhappy. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Either Mercedes finishing out the points or Mercedes DNF would really help me to get my Yuki prediction. So I'm going to hope for that.
Damn.
Yeah. But yeah, those are our wild card predictions. What do you think? I see there are just a couple people watching. So if you want to leave us a comment in the chat, what do you think is going to happen this weekend? A wild card prediction. Who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is going to get pole? Please let us know in the chat. And if you're watching this after the fact, please leave a comment and let us know who you think is going to win and what you think is going to happen at the Canadian Grand Prix. And while you're doing that, leave us a like and consider subscribing because it helps the channel and we appreciate it. But other than that, I think that's all we have to really talk about. Is there anything else you want to bring up before we say goodbye, Kira?
I do not believe so. Except that I hope it just isn't chaos as much as it was last year. I don't know. It's always hard to see a team have a double DNF, and last year in Canada there were 2 of those. So I think we'll have to see how it goes.
Okay. I can't hear you anymore, so I'm going to assume you've stopped talking. But that's the show today, I guess. It's a very short one, less than half an hour. So thank you, Kira, and thank you to everyone for tuning in. I think we've kind of covered everything. Yuki's going to have his own setup, hopefully, this weekend. Max is dealing with the penalty point situation. And Lance Stroll is cleared to race. Well, I would assume he's cleared to race, but he's going to be coming to the track. So I would imagine the doctors there at the FIA will need to clear him as well. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a pretty straightforward Grand Prix. No surprise entrance. So let's hope that Canada delivers an interesting race because I will be waking up really early to watch it. So yeah, let's hope for the best. Kira, can you hear me?
I can indeed hear you.
Okay, cool. I just want to say thank you so much, Kira. And
thank you, Uno. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, the traffic or the road to the Canadian Grand Prix is clear, and it's time to head to Montreal. I think that's where it is. My Canadian geography is quite
Yeah,
bad.
Montreal.
And yeah, let's hope for a great race this weekend. But other than that, all we have left to say is bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I haven't, let's see, this is the thing. I haven't even started playing the music yet. Whoops. There we go. Bye-bye again.